Assalamu alaikum everyone. So this is Salman Junaid over here. I have been teaching maths and physics in the last 12 years. I completed my A levels in 2011. I did my engineering from NAD University, and since 2014, I have been teaching maths and physics. I have taught at education-based school and Karachi Grammar School previously, and since the past 4 years, I have just been teaching at SG Academy. Now, what I feel is that physics and maths both can basically be very interesting if you can relate both of these to real life examples. So this is what I will be trying to do in the class. But along with that, the more important thing for all of you will obviously be how do we get an A. So once we start the lessons, I will be able to guide you exactly on how much practice you need to ensure that eventually you are at a level where you can get an A or an A star. All right. So that's all about me. And now we can move on to the demo. We will be starting off with circular motion. And to understand circular motion, the first thing is understanding what happens when an object moves in a circle. Now, from our previous knowledge, we know that when we talk about velocity, it also represents magnitude along with direction. Because moving in a circle represents a change in direction all the time, it means that whenever any point is moving in a circular motion or moving in a circle, it will always be accelerating. So that's the first thing. Now, the next thing is that when we talk about motion in a circle, so let's say if I make a circle over here and let me make a smaller circle over here. Now, moving 10 meters on this circle and moving 10 meters on this circle can mean two completely different things, right? Or if it's a even smaller circle, then that could mean also mean that it revolves around the circle two or three times as well. So that makes it more convenient to measure the change in terms of the change of angle, because the angle change basically gives a correct representation of how much a point has moved on a circle. Now, to understand the change of angle, the first thing is we'll have to know what is a radian. Now, when we talk about a radian, that simply means, and I will just use a circle to represent what a radian is. So let's say this circle has a radius of r, and if a point on the circle moves a distance of r on the circumference, so let's say this is also a distance r on the circumference, the angle formed over here, this angle is called 1 radian. So the first thing we need to understand is that a radian is, so 1 radian is the angle moved, or is the angle rotated, moved when a point moves a distance r, which is the radius, on the circumference. Okay. Now, from calculations, if you have done your A-level maths, then you will know that 1 radian is equals to 57.3 degrees. And now we can form many different angles. So we know that 180 degree, if you can just do basic maths, 180 divided by 57.3, that will come out somewhere equal to 3.142, which is equals to pi radians. And then that will mean if we are talking about one complete rotation, that will be 2 pi radians. If it is 90 degrees, I will just write that down as well. So 90 degree would be pi upon 2 radians, and 270 will be 3 pi by 245 will be pi by 4, and so on. So that's the first thing we should know what we mean by radian. And again, that we will be using radian throughout circular motion, and we know that it is more convenient to measure the change in terms of angle, and the unit for angle we'll be using will be radians. So that's the first thing. Now, moving on to angular displacement. Again, this is something those who have done AS maths or even AD maths, they will know. So angular displacement will is basically the distance moved on the circumference. Uh, just for some quick revision, we know that the arc length or the distance moved on the arc, when we learned this in O levels or GCSE, that was theta upon 360 into 2 pi r. Now this 360 can be replaced by 2 pi, and the arc length we represent it as s. 2 pi cancels, and this angular displacement can be given as s is equals to r theta, where theta will be the angle measured in radians, and this is the distance moved on the circumference, or we can just simply write this as the arc length. Okay, now moving on to angular speed. So we know that normal, when we talk about speed, that is change of distance upon change of time. So velocity is basically change of displacement with respect to time. When we talk about angular speed, its unit will be this W form, we call it omega. So this will be given as delta theta upon time. And we know that this is in radians and this is in seconds. So the unit for omega will be radians per second. Now, what we also know is that if we form one complete rotation, if any point uh, has or does one complete rotation, the frequency or f is given as 1 upon delta t or 1 upon t. And this is basically the time for one complete rotation. So if you have to talk about in terms of frequency or time period, we can rearrange this formula. In place of t, we can write, okay, so rearranging this formula, we can now write omega is equals to, now when we talk about one complete rotation, that is 360 degrees. In terms of radians, that will be taken as 2 pi, and time can be written as 1 upon f. Rearranging this, we can write omega will be is equals to 2 pi f. So that is what angular speed is. Now, angular velocity is exactly the same as angular speed. The only thing is we will know the direction of the rotation. It could be clockwise or counterclockwise. Now, moving further with this, we know that this is equals to delta theta upon delta t. This is called angular speed as we know now. Now, we will use different forms of are basically what we have learned so far. So we know already that s is equals to r theta. And what we also know is that velocity is s upon t, change of displacement upon time. Now we'll use these three to form one single formula relating v and omega. Now what is v? V is basically the linear speed. When we talk about the linear speed, it will basically mean the distance moved on the circumference when we moved with respect to time, and this will represent the angle moved with respect to time. Now, rearranging this, we can write theta is equals to s upon r, and velocity is s upon t. So we can also write t as, so this will become s upon v. Now, this can be written as s upon r over here, and in place of t we can write s upon v. This will cancel out, and omega will be is equals to, so v will come up in the numerator, so that will become v upon r, and we can also write v is equals to r omega. So the linear speed and the angular speed are related by this formula, which is v is equals to r omega. Now we'll use this to form uh, an expression for centripetal acceleration as well. So moving on to acceleration, basically we call it centripetal acceleration. Okay, so this centripetal acceleration is basically caused by centripetal force. and we write it as a centripetal force of constant magnitude x perpendicular, I will just write it in a short form, perpendicular to the direction of motion and causes centripetal acceleration. So this is basically what causes centripetal acceleration. A centripetal force basically of a constant magnitude is acting perpendicular to the direction of the motion. Basically, it is always acting towards the center. So we can just write that this force is always acting towards the center of the circle. Now this centripetal force, the centripetal force or the resultant force uh, can basically be if a car is moving on a roundabout, if we have, or let's so if there's a ball attached to a rope and we are spinning it, in that case that centripetal force will be tension. If a car is moving around a roundabout, that will be friction. And when we talk about Earth orbiting the sun, that is basically caused due to gravitational force. So this centripetal force can be due to different reasons. It could be friction, it could be tension, it could be gravitational force. Some things that we'll have to remember, that centripetal force and centripetal acceleration will always be directed towards the center. So if we have to make a circle to represent it, so this is basically the linear velocity, and force and acceleration will always be pointed towards the center no matter what direction we are at. At all points, force and acceleration will always be pointed towards the center. And they're always perpendicular to, so both of these will always be perpendicular to the linear speed. Now the next part is calculating centripetal acceleration. So if we have to calculate centripetal acceleration, the first thing we know is that acceleration is basically change of velocity with respect to change of time. Now, whenever uh, there is a small change of time, there will obviously be a very small change in the angle, right? So let's say for a very small change, now we cannot show a very small change, so I'll just have to show a larger change over here. So initially, let's say the uh, point had velocity v over here. After a small change in this angle, there will obviously be a small change in the velocity. Now, representing this as a circle, we know the basic formula, which is S is equals to R theta. So delta V in this case can be written as V multiplied by delta theta. So in place of delta V, we can write V into delta theta upon delta T. So this will be delta theta upon delta t. Now we know what this represents, delta theta upon delta t. We know from earlier that that represents the angular speed. So we can write this as acceleration can also be written as v multiplied by omega, right? And we can also write it as, we know that v is equals to r omega from earlier. So yeah, so we have v is equals to r omega. So we can write v is equals to r omega. Now we know that in place of v, we can write r omega. So this can be written as r into omega, which is acceleration can be given as r omega square, or we can also use angular speed is equals to v upon r, depending on what information is given. So acceleration can also be given as r. Okay, so this is v. acceleration is equals to V multiplied by V upon R, and simplifying this, we'll get V squared upon R. So we have two different forms of finding centripetal acceleration. It could be R into omega square, or if we have the velocity given, the linear velocity, we can write it as V squared upon R. And we learn to use them when we do the practice questions or the past paper questions. We learn when to use which of these formulas. Okay, so that's the formula for centripetal acceleration. And finally, we have the centripetal force. How do we calculate centripetal force? Well, the first thing we all know is that F is equals to ma. Everyone will be able to derive this on their own. Now, acceleration can be written as r omega square or v square upon r. So first, using this, in place of a, we will write F is equals to m into r omega square, or we can also write acceleration as v square upon r. So F will be is equals to mv square upon r. So these are two different ways in which we can write centripetal force. However, what we can also do is, because both of them represent force, if we equate both of these equations, so mv square upon r, so v and v will cancel, m and m will cancel, and what we'll get is omega square is equals to v upon r. Oh, this is r, so I made a small mistake over here. I have to correct this. So this is important to have your writing very clear. So m r omega square is equals to mv square upon r. So m and m cancels out. So we will get v squared is equals to r squared and omega squared. We'll get the same formula. So this a small mistake over here. Let me quickly check. Okay, so I just made a small mistake. Instead, basically what we had to do is that we had to use this formula F is equals to ma or mg. Now, and we are taking g because of gravitational acceleration if something is in free fall. So we can write mg is equals to mv square upon r, and this will be when we have something basically rotating due to gravitational force, so we will be using this. So we can write it as m and m will cancel out. V square can be written as gr, or v can be written as square root of gr. So this will be the velocity of an object moving due to gravitational force. And this is basically how we find centripetal force.